Hello everyone, I'm Anthropomantic Fiend, and I do horror-related things on the internet, usually, but today it is once again time for my favorite songs of the past month video, this time of course being February 2021. If you don't know what this is about, what I'm going to do is go through a list of some of my favorite songs I listened to last month. They didn't have to come out last month, although a lot of them did. I'm gonna just go through each one, briefly talk about why I liked it. In the description of this video, I'm going to be linking a YouTube playlist of all of the songs, a Spotify playlist including most of the songs, although there were a few that weren't on Spotify, and my personal Spotify playlist with thousands of songs that I love on it. So if you are looking for something new to listen to, hopefully I can help you. So first of all, we have Rising by Love Bites, and Love Bites are a power metal band from Japan, I believe. There is something really interesting about Japanese power metal vocals in particular. There's obviously a lot of kind of wailing vibrato to basically all power metal vocals, but there's something about the way a lot of Japanese bands I've listened to use vibrato that's very different, and I find that interesting. Love Bites are singing in English, and yet there is something different about the way that they use vibrato compared to other power metal bands. This song is lightning speed drums, really melodic guitar playing. There's kind of a guitar solo duel in the middle of the song, and then they kind of harmonize with each other. This all sounds very Dragon Force-y on paper, and it kind of is, but not exactly. There are also very symphonic overtones to the whole song, and the lyrics are about taking control of your own life, throwing away the idea that you're destined to do one thing or another, and kind of owning your own existence, which I love. Dead Butterflies, both the original version by Architects and the cover by Fabienne Ernie. I guess I would describe Architects as a metalcore band. They have been a lot heavier and growlier in the past. This song is a lot dreamier in a weird way. It's still very heavy, but it's kind of using that really distorted wall of sound in conjunction with atmospheric ambient backing and really melodic vocals to create something that's very ethereal in a weird way while still sounding massive. Fabienne's version of the song strips it down to just a piano and her voice. Fabienne is the current melodic vocalist for folk metal band Elevati, as well as the lead singer for the band Illumishade, both of whom I've talked about a bunch. She just has a really distinctive voice. It's very melodic. She has obviously some training, but there's also something really raw about her voice at the same time. There's this emphasis in strange places and little imperfections that add this kind of earnestness to her voice that I really like, especially on this particular song. I think I like her version just a little bit more, but both versions are really great for different reasons. The Villain of This Story by Machine Supremacy. I don't really know how to classify them. Their sound is very power metal-y to some extent, but there's also something snotty and imperfect about the vocals that's very atypical of power metal. There's something kind of punky and alternative rock-ish about that. They incorporate a lot of 8-bit sounds into their music, and a lot of their songs feel like they're kind of talking about video game culture to some extent, which I expect they are. One of my favorites by them is called Indiscriminate Murder is Counterproductive. This song also kind of feels like it's talking about video game culture, but it could also be something completely different. I haven't delved too deeply into the lyrics of this particular song, but it is, as the title would indicate, from the perspective of the villain of whatever story this is telling, and there's something very snotty and a little bit sarcastic about it. The lyrics are basically saying, yeah, I'm the villain of this story, what else did you expect from me? Omegacoustic by Epica. This is the acoustic version of the track Omega from their recently released album of the same title. I have not actually listened to the original version yet. I have gotten my copy of Omega, which is currently in my CD player. I have not finished listening to it, but I'm excited to. Omegacoustic works really, really well as its own song. It sounds a lot brighter and happier than plugged in Epica tends to, but the chorus kind of brings back the minor key feel of everything while still feeling very laid back, which I appreciate. You can still kind of feel the epic roots of what the original song was in this really laid back, chill arrangement, and there's also this rock organ just floating over everything, and it adds this really warm charm to the whole song. All I Ask of You, as covered by Adrienne Cowan. I've talked about Adrienne a fair few times on here. She is the vocalist for Seven Spires. She's worked with a lot of other projects, but that's what I mainly know her for. She has been doing a lot of covers just on her own YouTube channel, and this is a cover of All I Ask of You from Andrew Lloyd Webber's Phantom of the Opera musical, which I love, but it's been taken and put in the context of melodic metal with her doing the vocals of all of the characters. The arrangement is already very, very upbeat and fast compared to what the original song was. It sounds a lot like Camelot. I believe she said the main inspirations for her arrangement on this were Camelot and Flesh God Apocalypse. It has that quality that a lot of Camelot songs have, where the drums are just going a mile a minute and there's a bunch of tremolo picked guitars, but it's all very melodic and there's this sweeping symphonic orchestration over it that makes it sound not super in your face or aggressive. It's kind of sweeping and romantic sounding. The verses are, I think, like in 7/4, she switched up the time signature. She's also switched it to a minor key, so it's a little bit darker sounding, but kind of kept that romantic quality of the original lyrics and kind of doing a slightly deeper voice for, I guess, what's meant to be Raoul's voice, and kind of higher pitched power metal vocals for the Christine parts. Then there will be breaks after the chorus that incorporate the main theme from Phantom of the Opera. And then when we get to the Phantom's part, the Phantom death growls. She just goes full Dimmu Borgir, and it's kind of amazing because she then switches into operatic vocals and then back into growly phantom voice. I think I've analyzed this one way more than any of the other songs on this list, but I'm a huge symphonic metal nerd, I'm a huge phantom nerd, and all of the different things she's doing with the music are really, really cool, so I highly recommend checking this one out. You Are by Light and Shade. I kind of got on a kick of listening to Adrienne's music. This came up as a recommendation on YouTube as I was just binging a bunch of her stuff. She contributes guest vocals to this song. She's not a member of the original band, I don't think. I get the sense that the original band are kind of a power metal thing. This song in particular has that same quality that I kind of mentioned with the Camelot stuff. It's not super fast or tremolo picked or anything, but it's very upbeat. There's a lot of chugging guitars in it, and yet it's very romantic at the same time. There are these little interludes of acoustic guitar that are being punctuated with just big chugging electric guitar. The lyrics are just a straight up love song, which I usually don't like, but when power metal bands do it, I usually like it a lot better. The lead vocalist of Light and Shade and Adrienne are kind of trading off parts. He's got this really deep, rich sounding voice. Adrienne is Adrienne. She has this very clean, smooth sounding vocal style that she uses at some points, and then her melodic but still really harsh sounding vocals that are really, really unique to her. I don't really hear a lot of other bands using that, and at least not in the way that she does it. Vocals that are that harsh shouldn't work with what this song is, but they totally do at the same time, and it's just really fun, melodic power romanticness, I guess. Somewhat cheesy, but I like cheesy. No More Regrets by Arch Enemy. I've loved Arch Enemy for a long time. They're one of my favorite melodic death metal bands, or death metal bands in general. This is a song from the Alyssa Whiteglue's era of the band, which is actually how I was introduced to them, but it's one of the most aggressive songs I've heard from that era, and I don't know how I've overlooked it for this long. This song basically never lets up. Constant double kick, constant tremolo guitars, and then just these crazy tapping arpeggios like in the middle of the song. It's not even like a solo or a crazy lead part necessarily, it's like part of the main riff of the song, which is crazy. And yet they still leave room in the chorus for this really simple melody in the middle of all of this insanity. And then they do open it up a little bit for a kind of breakdown-ish section that is wonderfully heavy. So this one is just pure melodic death metal aggression, and that is what I was in the mood for at the time, and I loved it. The Dead Silence theme by Charlie Clouser, as well as Dead Silence Meets Metal, as done by E-Rock from YouTube. I know there are also numbers in his name, but I'm forgetting them right now. I watched Dead Silence for the first time towards the ends of last month, and I absolutely loved it. It's a wonderfully creepy movie in a lot of ways with a kind of epic twist. The thing that really sold me on the film is its music. It has this kind of chimey, repetitive theme that is on par with the likes of things like the Halloween theme and the theme from Phantasm and almost something like Suspiria, I guess. It has that same kind of chimey, repetitive quality while a bunch of creepy, swelling epicness is kind of building behind it. Shortly after that, I was like, there has to be awesome metal covers of this. So I looked on the internet and I listened to E-Rock's cover of it, and he takes it into almost power metal territory, which I was not expecting. He keeps all the elements from the original song but incorporates them into a more up-tempo melodic metal thing, and he's left room for a lot of insane shredding and guitar harmonies, and he's kind of taken little bits of the orchestration and made them into metal riffs in ways that I didn't expect. If you haven't watched Dead Silence, I highly recommend watching it, listening to the score, and then listening to E-Rock's metal cover. Parasite Eve, as covered by Fabienne Ernie. The original song is by Bring Me the Horizon, who have been on this list before. I listened to the original before I listened to this, but the original didn't really make the list for me. It's a good song, but it doesn't really stick out for me the way this one does. It is very similar to the Dead Butterflies cover I mentioned earlier that she did, in that it's a very stripped down, raw, emotional version of the song with just her voice and piano. And I guess there's just a quality to some of Bring Me the Horizon stuff that just doesn't click with me, but her vocal performance combined with just this really stripped down piano version of this song just adds this haunting quality to the whole thing that just keeps me coming back. And then finally we have another twofer, which is I'm Not a Vampire by Falling in Reverse, both the original version and the recent revamped version. I know pretty much exactly nothing about Falling in Reverse. I heard like one song a couple years ago, I think it was Drugs, and then listened to that like twice and then never listened to it again. Very recently, Tori from Tori Reacts, who is a music reactor who I watch regularly, did a reaction to the revamped version of this song. So I made a point of going back and listening to both versions, and the original is really fun to some extent. The video kind of gets raunchy and gross in some ways that I don't like so much, but the original song kind of has this shuffle time to it that's really fun. It's very catchy, the guitar solo is amazing, and there's this very snarky, satirical nature to the lyrics. But the revamped version I like even more because it takes the melody and all of the lyrics from the original song brings this really moody gothic orchestration in and basically turns it into this angst-ridden gothic epic where the narrator of the song is most definitely a vampire. The video heightens that even more by basically being a short film in the vein of something like Interview with a Vampire. It has a very similar aesthetic and even some similar story beats in places to something like Interview. So it's just very gothic and moody in a way that was right up my alley. That is everything I have for you today. Once again, I have links to all of the different playlists below if you want to check any of this stuff out and find something new to listen to. Those are my favorite songs of February 2021. Thank you for watching my video, and hopefully I will see you in another one. Bye!